Welcome. I'm Christophe Milin. I work at CINEA and in Department D1, and I will be presenting today the topic on integrated services for clean energy transition in buildings. I will start the presentation with a brief policy background to explain the context in which this topic was defined. Then I will explain the scope A and scope B of the topics, followed by a few examples of one-stop shops that we've been supporting with this topic already in the past years. And I will conclude this presentation with a presentation of scope C, which is the EU Community of Integrated Home Renovation Services practitioners, which is a bit different from scope A and B. That's why I will present it aside. So the EU has set very large ambitions in relation to climate change and tackling climate change. We aim collectively to reach climate neutrality by 2050. That means net zero emission of greenhouse gases by 2050, with an intermediate target of reducing by 55% our emission in 2030 compared to the level of 1990. So that's very ambitious. That's basically tomorrow also. So 2030 really is very it's coming tomorrow. These ambitions were complemented by a number of legislative acts with the past Commission and the revision of key directives, especially the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Renewable Energy Directive, and the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, which are all three key legislative acts you should look at also to get some policy context on this topic. Also worth mentioning in the past Commission, the renovation wave with the intent of doubling the renovation rate. So not only the ambition of renovations that are conducted in Europe, but also the rhythm, the pace at which these renovations are conducted. Following the crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, there were a number of actions taken for the economy to recover, with a number of these tackling also our climate ambitions. So a number of these targeting the building sector and the energy renovation of this building sector. In particular, in the frame of the Recovery and Resilience Facility, there was a substantial amount dedicated to energy renovation of buildings and in the housing sector in particular. This facility is coming to an end now, but it has also shaped a lot the context in which the one-stop shop we try to develop will operate now. And following the Russian aggression of Ukraine, there was also a number of actions to phase out our dependency on Russian fossil fuels with the Repower EU plan. And a number of these actions targeted the renovation of housing and renovation of buildings in particular. Because I mean, to reduce the energy consumption of our buildings is also a way to phase out our dependency on fossil fuels and Russian fossil fuels in particular. But these ambitions were faced with and are still faced with the practical realities of renovation, building renovation, and in particular in the housing sector. I don't know if you've been through the process of renovating your home, but you may relate to this image, which very much relates to me. The complexity of it, the complexity of defining your project, of finding the right professionals to perform the work, organize their intervention, also finding possible financial support or financial schemes to finance this intervention. All of this can be very complex and cumbersome, especially if you're looking at comprehensive energy renovation. So if you aim at reaching low energy consumption in your house, this can be particularly complex to define and to implement. In most member states, there are interventions to incentivize homeowners to renovate their home with subsidies, with tax credit, also with facilitated information, and also in some cases some constraint, and notably the idea of introducing minimal energy performance standards in housing for housing to be let or sold. So as an incentivize or constraint, but in both cases, it's also important to facilitate, so to accompany homeowners along their journey and help them go through the different steps of energy renovation. It's important to notice that most homeowners are not specialized so most homeowners are just private individuals. They are not specialized in building renovation. They are not specialized in energy. They are not financial experts, and they will not build capacity. It's not reasonable to expect them to become expert in complex energy renovation when they will maybe perform one renovation in their lifetime. So rather than expecting them to build capacity, it's important to facilitate their processes and provide them solution to perform energy renovation. Also worth mentioning, in the building sector, there are no lack of market participants. There is some shortage of skilled workforce in the sector, indeed, but there are many skilled professionals already working in the building sector. Um, but they are organized by trade and their intervention are not necessarily coordinated. And in addition, they may not have an interest in coordinating their intervention. They are specialized in some type of intervention. They may not find the time and need to or incentive to coordinate it with other type of professionals. So that's where the idea of one-stop shop emerged, with the idea of so it's kind of an easy shortcut or term to convey the idea of simplification, to simplify the building renovation. So not for everyone. I mean, the building renovation will remain complex to some extent, but it's one or several key actors that take care of this complexity, take care of coordinating the work, coordinating all the complexity of building renovation to make it as simple as possible for the final beneficiary, and in particular for individual homeowners. They may consider disseminating information also to encourage a cultural shift, making as simple as possible to renovate, and therefore also making it as mainstream as possible. So if it's easy and everybody's doing it, then that's maybe a good cultural shift. Also, in many places, there is some financial support available to renovate housing, but may not be totally coherent. The different sources of financial support may not be coherent between one and another. There is a point or an interest in rationalizing the access to financial support and rationalizing the access to different type of financial support from different sources. One key element behind this idea of one-stop shop is also the idea of trust. We are working in the building sector where things can go wrong, and sometimes they do. It's not a matter of denying it; it's a matter of acknowledging it and establishing clear liabilities in the case of something going wrong, and clear correction methods, processes to fix the issue. So not letting homeowners alone with their poorly renovated houses, but really making sure that they are totally covered in case something is going wrong. The problem can be fixed, and therefore they can trustfully engage in complex renovation. There is also an idea behind one-stop shop of pooling skills, so making sure also that we're dealing with skilled professionals, skilled craft people, and pooling these resources to make the best package services as possible. On the other side, the the investment in energy innovation in housing is large from an individual perspective, but from a financial actor's perspective, it's still a very small investment. And there may be also an interest in aggregating small-scale investment, so many different housing renovations, and therefore making reaching a critical mass to justify also some financial engineering and more complex approaches. So there is no one-size-fits-all solution to be spread all over Europe. In all member states, there are already things ongoing with to renovate housing. There are all in every place is also skilled professional existing, but these differ very much from one place to the other, and not only from one member state to the other, but even at local level. The skilled professional you may have access to will differ also largely. Depending on where you're located, also the needs, the climate, the social context will be also different. So the needs to be covered by your one-stop shop approach will also largely differ from one place to the other, and needs to so the approach needs to be tailored to take into account these different needs. I mentioned that the idea of trust is fundamental in this one-stop shop approach, but building this trust is also culturally marked. It's not you may not intervene the same way in one member state or in another. It requires a clear understanding of the cultural nuances and how to approach homeowners to really propose a solution that fits their needs and also their cultural expectations. As mentioned, there is no lack of market participant, but indeed some divergent interest and an absence of coordination. So what we're looking for is not so much one single mastodon one-stop shop that will take care of everything, but what would make more sense is an agile ecosystem of coherent and complementary structures, so taking care of different pieces of the puzzles and also making sure that these structures intervene in a coherent manner, complementary manner. The term one-stop shop is mentioned in two key legislative acts, in the Energy Efficiency Directive and in the Energy Performance of Building Directive, with a definition that is quite broad and can be used in also different sectors. The term one-stop shop in the directives can relate to the housing sector, but also to public buildings or even to SMEs. The focus of this topic on one-stop shop is very much on the housing sector, with two scopes that I will present later on. Scope A that targets mainly private individuals, so non-professional individuals, and a scope B that is more oriented towards professional professional landlords, so legal entities, either private housing operators or even social operators, also social housing operators. Professional entities owning probably a large stock, and therefore their needs and their resources to intervene will also largely vary, and approaches will also largely vary. If you're more interested in local public authorities or providing solutions to SMEs, I would rather suggest you have a look at all the topics. There is a topic on local authorities, which you may find interesting. There is a topic on businesses, so where you could also develop some sort of one-stop shop approaches, but for SMEs. Another topic that you may find interesting is project development assistance, PDA, which can target all of these different sectors in a slightly different manner than what we're trying to do here with one-stop shop. And if your focus is very much on innovative financing solutions, so very much on the work with financial institution and financial engineering to propose tailored solutions for any of these actors, then you may also look at the topic on private fin, which may be more suited to what you're trying to do. And also worth mentioning in targeting the housing sector, there is a topic on energy poverty. So if your focus is very strong on addressing vulnerable households and energy poverty situations, then maybe look also at this topic that may or may not better fit your needs. And the topic on energy communities, which are to a very large extent focusing on energy production, but some of them are also looking at innovative ways to address housing renovation. So with these elements of context in mind, I will now present the different scopes we are looking at in this topic on one-stop shops. Scope A, integrated home renovation services, which is very much focused on private individuals, so non-professionals, and scope B being focused more on professional housing operators, either private housing operators or social housing operators also. I will give one example of a one-stop shop and also propose you a map of other initiatives we have been supporting in the past, and you may look at these different initiatives to look for examples and inspirations maybe. And then afterwards, I will present scope C, which is which is different from the scope A and B. And here we are looking at continuing a community of integrated home renovation services practitioners. So we not only want the different projects that we are supporting to be successful, we also want them to communicate and share experiences with one another. So that's really much the point of this scope C that I will present by the end of my presentation. So the point of scope A and B is to create or replicate one-stop shop services. It's very important when you define your project to start from the homeowner's point of view. As I mentioned in the context, the needs are different. There are cultural nuances to be taken into account. Also, the context will differ in terms of support schemes that exist, in terms of skilled professionals that already intervene in the sector and on the ways to arrange these services into a comprehensive package. So really start from the homeowner's perspective, look at what would be needed to go through all the complexity of home renovation and try to make sure that there are solutions provided at each step of the customer journey. The idea of the one-stop shop is really to simplify home renovation for the owners. So make it as simple as possible. So also to make it easier and therefore have more homeowners engaging in these kind of activities. So take on the tasks that are complex and restitute some simplicity to homeowners. Make it as simple as possible by coordinated, combining, integrated the services provided by either private or public players. So make a package, a solution, a coherent set of solutions for homeowners on the technical side and also on the financial side, making sure that there are, as I mentioned in my introduction, the different support schemes are coherent, that you can access the different sources of support that may exist, and also making sure that the interventions of your skilled professionals are well coordinated. We want the one-stop shop to be created or replicated with this. Replicated means that you can get inspiration from one-stop shops that exist elsewhere. Even in your own member state, you could replicate some initiatives that you find particularly relevant to be replicated in a different local context. Or you may find inspiration in another member state and try to develop one-stop shop services that still not exist in in your member state. So that's the meaning of replication or creation if you really start from scratch, which I would not encourage to do. There are already a lot of initiatives that exist, and I really recommend that you look at the different existing projects, not only in your member state but also elsewhere, and get inspiration from these. So what we want is that the services are defined, the structures are in place by the end, before the end of the project. We want the services to be completely implemented, operational, and tested before the end of the project. So not only we need to have the services in place, but we want to see some first investment as a result of your one-stop shop. These investment do not necessarily need to be large numbers, but can be seen more as a proof of concept. So if your services are really relevant and you're really providing solutions to homeowners' needs, then there should be some interest that translate into some first project and first investments. And also, so that's particularly important. It's not we don't want project that finish with just the services defined and not yet implemented and tested. There is really a need for the services to be operational and tested by the end of the project. Another important point is that we do not want to support one-off initiatives that disappear as soon as there is no more financial support from our side. We want clear actions to secure medium and long-term viability. We know it's very challenging to achieve economic viability with this type of services. I mean, depending also on the scope and the ambitions that you have, but it's particularly challenging. So we're not saying that. That there is no more public support after our initiative, but if your initiative requires more public support before reaching its equilibrium, then there should be clear action also in your first project to secure these additional sources of funding. So it's very important that you already have in mind that once the project is finished, you will continue working, and there are clear actions to either find sources of finance or of further support, or there are actions also to put in place a business model that would secure your long-term viability. Who should propose the services? So this topic is a bit different from other topics that we have in this call, in this live call, because here you could perfectly apply a loan. So one single entity could apply. It's not necessarily a good idea. I mean, if it makes sense, then it's fine. If you to deliver a set of services, maybe it's fine also to have in your consortium already some relevant entities joining forces to develop the set of services. But it's perfectly eligible to be alone in a consortium. It's perfectly eligible also to that all partners in the consortium come from the same place. These services to put in place are very local by nature, so there's no need to find other partners from other member states to be eligible in this topic. Maybe sometimes that makes sense, but it's not a requirement. It's important to explain clearly what is your starting point, what already exists in your context, and how these partnerships that you're developing make sense, and it's the best suited to deliver the set of services that you're proposing. Also important to notice that it's not necessarily not for profit. This idea of one-stop shop is sometimes related to an idea of public service that can make sense, but it can also be developed on a purely for profit basis. If that makes sense, if it's well designed, you could have very well a project with private entities developing for profit services. Also, one point to mention, it's important that you communicate your results and you communicate with the Commission and also with other member states at some point. But for most of the activities that you will do at local level, you could very well work in your local language. So we know that some entities are not completely comfortable with English. And that shouldn't stop you from engaging in these activities, because you're perfectly entitled to work most of the time in your local language, and only for a few communication deliverables and communication with the Commission, you will need some people that speak English, but not all your consortium. What is particularly important is to define your starting point, identify the needs of your targeted stakeholders, which I mentioned may vary largely from one place to the other. They will also vary largely if you address scope A, so non-professional, or if you address scope B with professional stakeholders. So it's very important that you clearly explain your starting point and make a clear diagnosis of your initial situation. So what are the target populations? What are the current practices? What already exists in your local environment? Who is active? What are they delivering? What are the kind of supports that already exist, either technical, informational, financial support? Who are the key stakeholders in your local environment where you intend to implement your solution? And most probably there are also other entity active competing potentially with your solutions, and so it's also good that in your diagnosis you establish this possible competition and how you go around this how you manage your services in relation to that. If you find that your initiative is relevant and suitable in your local environment, some other people should also manifest some interest. So it's very good that you can demonstrate that not only you find your idea interesting, but some other people also find your idea interesting. So, and in particular, if you intend to mobilize some key stakeholders at some point in your action, it's good if they are not already part of your consortium, and maybe sometimes it doesn't make sense to involve them in the consortium, but if you need them at some point, it's very good that you can demonstrate that they know about you, they know about your idea, and they find it relevant. So it's also important to spend some time on getting some approval of your initiative by key stakeholders, and also probably by key beneficiaries from your intervention. If you think that the services you want to deliver is particularly relevant for a given target group, your case would be even stronger if you can present some interest from your key target group. So if you're looking at, for example, in the scope B, if you're looking at large housing operators, having some support of large operators that may be involved in a pilot phase, for instance, would be particularly relevant. So all of this will be more in the relevance criterion. And also afterwards, once your initiative started, there should be also some action in your work plan to mobilize stakeholders. So not only having secured their interest at the beginning of your action and with your proposal, but having key actions to mobilize these stakeholders during the course of the action. Mobilize them in taking part of the services the services to be delivered, if that makes sense. Also, one possible way to approach this is to involve them in the governance of your action. So having some advisory board, for instance, is not a requirement, but sometimes it makes sense to make sure that the services that you intend to deliver are well suited to your target audience. So if you have an advisory board with some stakeholders representative from your target groups, that can make a lot of sense. We also expect you to provide methods and support to build expertise. As I mentioned in the introduction, also the idea behind One Stop Shop is to pool skills and making sure that collectively we are stronger and more capable than alone and not coordinated. Build some expertise, build some organizational innovations. So making sure also not only that you have skilled professional intervening, but they have the right tools to deliver the set of services. At some point later down the road, you can have also some work to ensure effectiveness of your approach. So making sure also you use economies of scale to make your services affordable for your targeted audience. And price transparency is important so for your target audience also to understand what they are paying for if part of the services is charged to your target audience. As I mentioned earlier in the introduction, and I cannot insist enough on this, trust is the core aspect to be tackled with this one-stop shop. So it's very important that people feel confident to use the services you intend to put in place, and feel confident enough to engage not only in a renovation, changing windows of boilers, but really engaging in a complex intervention, including renovation of the building envelope and so on, trying to achieve low energy consumption. So this cannot happen if there is no trust in the services that are provided. And this trust could, for instance, be gained by clear liabilities. So in case something goes wrong, and something do go wrong in the building sector sometimes, that happens, there should be clear liabilities, clear processes to fix the problem, and making sure that in the end the results are still reached. Some quality assurance is particularly important in that matter, and also dedicated consumer protection policies. You do not want people to feel that they were forced into an energy renovation and they are not happy with it. There should be ways also to secure their consumer protection, and making sure that they have ways to change their mind, for instance, or to have some solutions if they feel not comfortable in the process. So we want you to be successful, to implement your services and deliver results. We also want you to communicate these results, and so to making sure that your solutions that you've been implemented at local level make certainly a lot of sense at local level, but can be also inspiring for others. So we really want the project, maybe not at the beginning, but by the end of it, to really communicate on its results and the relevant solutions that you found. Maybe also the difficulties that you face. It's always important to raise this. Notably, you could raise this to your local or national public authorities and help by doing and highlighting the difficulties that you face. Maybe help improve your legal and regulatory environments. So that will facilitate then the replication of your approach by other entities, because we would like this to spread. I mean, we don't have the resources to support financial resources to support all of one-stop shops in Europe, but we want, with these first initiatives that we are supporting, to pave the way for further replication, and maybe at some point to make it so mainstream that it becomes a bit quite easy to replicate what you've been doing. There is, as I mentioned, and I will develop later, a community of practitioners called EU peers at the moment, and we want to continue these efforts to for our projects to communicate and to discuss and to share findings, and also to reach other possible interested parties. So we really want to continue these efforts to not only have successful projects, but have a successful population of projects, and in the end, a topic that moves. So looking at the different scopes, as I mentioned, the main difference between scope A and scope B is on the targeted audience. So scope A is focused on non-professional homeowners, so the individual physical persons, non-specialists, with the idea to provide active support in the different steps of the journey. And I think you can relate to the picture here. And to take their point of view and try to find the solution that you, if you were there, you would need to successfully implement an energy innovation project, including, as I mentioned, the notion of trust and monitoring of work, quality assurance, and so on. The scope B is different in the targeted audience. We're looking at professional housing operators, which could be private housing operators, large building owners, social housing operators could also be addressed with this. The important point is that here we're targeting professional entities with an emphasis on rental housing. So professional entities that are renting their estate, and will have different needs and different expectation also for the services that you're delivering. You could have more of a real estate portfolio management perspective. They will work also with an idea of asset valuation, and the approach of renovation, which also largely focus on this aspect of things and how they can secure the long-term asset value of the long-term value of their assets. Because they are professional entities and potentially larger entities, there could also be enough resources to develop strategic partnerships with either construction professional or with financial institutions. So that could also be a thing to look at. Because of the size and maybe capacity to reach a critical mass, you could also develop some financial engineering or some fiscal engineering if you're working with public authorities. Particular attention should be given in that case to governance issue within the professional entity that you are dealing with. So you may have a different nature of professional entities, and looking at how decisions are taken and how they can be facilitated could also be could be a point. Governance could also be considered in different aspects, because you may have professional entities that own a large number of housing units, but maybe in different settings, and maybe, for instance, they own a few flats in condominium, but they have to deal with not only other professional entities, but also private individuals. So there may be also relevant approaches to deal with this complex governance of condominiums. So this topic is actually not new. We've been supporting this one-stop shop for quite a number of years already. We have already over 40 projects ongoing or completed in 16 member states. So we're still missing a few of the member states with relevant initiatives, but really we're covering Europe quite well. And you could have a look at the different initiatives that exist. You could find, for instance, relevant information in the EU peers community that I've mentioned earlier, which you may find an interest also in joining if you're really interested in this kind of one-stop shop approaches. That could be relevant to get in touch with them and also see what they have to propose in terms of information, for instance, and relevant past experiences. I will just mention one example, but I could have taken many of others. It's a GDOMUS project in Catalonia, in the province of Girona. It started last year, end of last year, and will last for 3 years. It's actually building on an existing program, and they really want to optimize their existing program. So what I've said on the importance of, I mean, nobody's starting from a blank page. Everyone has something else before. There's always something in a local environment. So in that case, they were particularly good also on building on what already exists. And in that case, there was a previous program that existed, and the point is not to optimize it and scale it up. They have a very strong focus on the business model of their approach, establishing an economically viable business model. As I mentioned, we do not want to support initiatives that will collapse as soon as the project ends. So having in mind already how you would continue operation after the project is very important. That could be achieved in different ways. We're not saying that there shouldn't be any kind of support after our support with life, but in that case, they're looking for sources of revenues also from the targeted beneficiaries, so from homeowners, and the approach they have is actually quite interesting. They have a strong also marketing strategy, marketing approach. So not just a matter of informing homeowners of the importance of renovating home, but really making a brand out of Gidomus, and having all that goes with the idea of a brand, with a strong strategy to ensure that this brand is trusted, that it's a quality brand, and you can go with them and go with your renovation in full confidence. So that's very good also, and they have a strong also mind around replication aspect. So they try to develop this in the province of Girona to start with, but they very much intend then to expand in other provinces, in Catalonia, in neighboring federal states, and in Spain in general. And also they already see in their project to collaborate with your peers. They have dedicated resources to work with the community of practice to share their experiences, and making sure also that what they learn and implement in Girona can be relevant and replicated elsewhere in Europe. In terms of numbers, they have the idea of developing physical offices. It's important too. We do not want to see purely online platform with no physical presence. Also, again, with this idea of trust building and accompanying homeowners all the way through. At some point, you need to talk to real people and not just a web page. And here they try to develop a front office for in the Girona province. They also have this well tackled this idea of pilot phase with a few investment triggered. In that case, they are targeting actually almost 12 millions of investment in energy renovation, corresponding to 150 housing units. And to finish with Shidomus, which is a quite comprehensive project, let's say, they have also a strong focus on working with professionals. So they are not doing everything. They're coordinating services and working with skilled professionals from the construction sector, and working with them. There are also some training programs to make sure that they can collaborate with the platform, and they are also happy working with the Geomus brand. I will now complete this presentation with a presentation of the Scope C, the EU Community of Integrated Home Renovation Services practitioners, which is a bit different from the two other scopes in different ways. The objective here is really to harvest, analyze, and debate different findings from the various experiences, from the experiences that we've been supporting with LIFE-CET and even before, but also possibly from experiences from the rest of the world, initiatives that are not necessarily supported by LIFE-CET budget. but really all relevant one-stop shop initiatives to harvest what they've been doing, analyze their successes, but also their difficulties, debate this to get to a common understanding on the key aspects and maybe some key elements that could be implemented to further develop this one-stop shops approach. The point is really for this community to provide guidance to other initiatives and help them grow, to support even these emerging initiatives and help the further one-stop shop deploy in Europe. One key element is to build capacity, notably at the national level, to build capacity of national stakeholders so they can in turn support the deployment of one-stop shop. They can share an understanding on what is the most relevant approach in their national context, what works and what not, and how they can further deploy these kind of structures, and how they can further support the deployment of one-stop shop in the member state or at local level. So this community is very much oriented towards the outside world, and the point is really to communicate on the findings, on the analysis that have been made, on the type of experiences that exist, and what works and what not. So very strong focus on communication actions and organizing a living EU community of practitioners. This scope is rather different from the two other ones, as you understand. It's not a matter of supporting a single initiative in single one-stop shop, but really much the point of a community of practice, with a big difference with the two other scopes. Also, this community of practice must be transnational. We are not supporting national communities. This must be a transnational EU community of practitioners. And as such, there is no possibility to propose to present a proposition with a single applicant. To the contrary of what I've just said, be the scope A and B. Scope A and B, it's possible to have a single applicant from one single member state and single local environment. In this scope C, to be eligible, you need to have at least three participants from three different member state eligible countries. And to be eligible, but to be relevant, maybe you need even more than that. You need to collect as much as you can of relevant participant, relevant representative, and relevant supporter of this concept of one-stop shop. So voilà, to be relevant and not just eligible. This transnational EU community of practice should reflect also the diversity of situations. It's not the purpose is not really to have a single view on what one-stop shop are, but really to embrace the variety and the diversity of these approaches and understanding of what works and what not in a different environment, different member states, also to help then the replication from one place to the other in Europe. We estimate that a budget around 2.5 million euros is enough to perform these activities. Also because this proposal under scope C, I mean every proposal under the topic and under the call in general should demonstrate a clear knowledge of the initial situation and what other initiative exist. But this is particularly true for this scope C. We really want the proposition to be clearly aware of other initiatives that exist, either at EU level, supported by EU funds possibly, but also at not supported by EU fund, but relevant for the one-stop shops, or initiatives that are relevant at national member state level. And so it would be particularly important in this proposition under scope C to clearly establish how and demonstrate how you know your situation, you know where you're coming from, and what exists, what other initiative exist, and how you envisage to collaborate with this. So with that presentation of Scope C, I conclude my presentation of the topic one-stop shop. I very much encourage you to read the topic description. There are elements in the topic the description that I could not detail here. In case you have questions, please feel free to contact us through the functional mailbox that is here, Cinea life-set-ec.europa.eu. And I will be happy to answer questions. Be mindful also that under the topic description in the participant portal, you will find also some frequently asked questions. So there are further information that may be relevant for you to understand better what we are looking for. And also feel free to contact your live national contact points. They are here also to support you, help you understand, especially what are the requirements for this live set call and how you could manage this type of proposals. They may also be able to help in constituting your consortium or understanding how you may manage a consortium. So feel free to contact them. And with that, I conclude this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention and good luck with your proposals.